And at some point, all I remember is him going, God damn it, get him off my bus.
Live from the Willie Nelson and Friends Museum Showcase in Nashville, Tennessee. It's Music is Funny. Musicians talking to comedians about music and comedy. With your hosts, Raelyn Nelson and Jonathan Bright.
I'm still smoking, I'm so high, I keep toking, I'm drunk, but I'm still drinking too.
Welcome back to Music is Funny. I'm Raelyn Nelson.
And I'm Jonathan Bright from the Raelyn Nelson Band, back with another ridiculous and unnecessary intro.
I'm Marc Ryan. Yeah, I kind of like it when it just starts kind of natural and it's not, it's not some big production. Welcome back, you guys. No, Mark, what is the first music you remember loving as a kid?
So you asked me this before I got here, and so I was trying to really think about this because it's hard to remember, like, when you're like 4, 5,
right?
Like and so then I was like keying in on like images. Like I remember my sister had a 45 record that had the tongue out, so that was clearly the Rolling Stones, right?
Yeah.
And then the other day, randomly at this little podunk radio station out where I live, they played that song, I ride my motorcycle. And it's like this really weird song. I'm like, oh my God, my sister had that album when I was like 4 or 3 or something, really young.
How old was your sister?
She's 3 years older than me.
Just one sister?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So she would have been my first introduction to music, because she was older and she had a record player and she would play that. And I don't remember what else. Maybe Prince would have been a lot later, right? Like 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm trying to, and then it all blends together when you're 1 to 10. So, and that was another thing that I was thinking about that is interesting about kids today is because if they like something, then the internet feeds them more of that. And that's how they're introduced to music. But all I had was what my sister was listening to, what my dad was listening to. I mean, that was it.
What was Dad listening to?
What was your dad listening to?
So I was born in Texas, in
what part?
Dallas.
Dallas?
Yeah. Yeah, as a matter of fact, this
Texas
is an
as fuck.
interesting aside that my dad reminded me of when I called him going, what did we have? What were the records? He goes, well, your mom called in on the radio station to win tickets to a concert at the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport grand opening in 1974. And who she saw that day was your grandfather on one end of the airport, and on the other end of the airport was Doc Severinsen from The Tonight Show.
Wow.
And they went back and forth, and they went to this concert, and it was a big deal. So
Trip.
up until my dad and mom were from Louisiana, that's where I'm from also, most of my life, but up until they moved to Texas, my dad hadn't really gotten into country music, but when he moved to Texas, he started listening to your grandfather and Merle and Waylon and Jerry Jeff. And I remember we had, you know Jerry Jeff, right?
Yeah.
Sure. And I don't remember what the name of the album was that had Up Against the Wall. It was like Gringo something.
Oh.
Something
Yeah, I know
Gringo.
what you're talking about. Yeah.
Because I can remember the cover. Because that's another thing is I key into is
Which cover was that one?
Well, you remember back then,
the records.
you'd get a record, at least I did, and you'd stare at the cover while you're listening to the record.
Yeah.
I knew a lot of names. I didn't really know what a producer was or whatever, but I knew half the people that were involved in early Kiss records because I was 9 years old reading the album cover while I'm listening to it.
Amazing. And now as an adult, you look at what a great marketer that guy is, and you're like, okay,
well done.
And if it had like the fold out or it had a thing, that was awesome. That was like a big part.
It was like a music video.
It was part of the experience. Yeah, like you said, you would have the record on, and then all that would be sprawled out on the floor. If it had inserts, and everybody would be looking at it and reading. Yeah. So
I miss those.
Yeah. So when we went to Texas, my father got into a lot of country music. So I would have been, that's a lot of what I liked, when I was young. And I remember that Up Against the Wall, Redneck Mother, I remember thinking, this song's so naughty. This is like an adult song. Like, I shouldn't hear this, because we had a very strict religious household, and there was no cussing and, no sexual stuff on the TV. The first time I ever French kissed a girl, my mother screamed in horror, like
thought you
you
were
know,
gonna say
I, know,
French
I thought that was,
mother.
I thought that was going badly there. First I French to go with my mother. Whoa.
yeah,
Finish
no.
this, yeah.
I did not French my mother. No, but she caught us, and she just lost her mind and created all this like. You know, like I had done
Shame around that.
shame.
And I've never kissed a woman since.
I know. I'd like to come out on your show. No. So when you hear a song like Up Against, you would be like, this is so dirty. Like, what is this song about?
Right.
Yeah.
But I love that. I remember loving that as a kid. I would have probably been like 6, 7, maybe.
Okay.
And then my dad and my mom, too, a little bit very soulful people. Like we went to concerts when we moved back to Louisiana when I was like 7. We went to see people like Neil Diamond
All right.
and the Commodores. My mother loved Lionel Richie.
Okay.
And I remember going to his concert and seeing the piano spun. And then it also lifted on its side. So at some point he's like, you know, and I just remember being like, this is
that's
this
cool.
guy. It's amazing. He's singing, spinning,
Yeah.
tilted. We saw Kenny Rogers, Diana Ross.
Kind of made your way around, yeah.
Yeah, this is the first time I was on stage in front of a massive audience. I was probably, again, 7.
Okay.
And at Diana Ross, she played in the round, and she would go, all right, I'm going to sing this to the kids or something. And she would have like 15, 20 kids come up on stage, and my dad or somebody was like, you should go up there. And so I go up there, and now I'm on stage in this arena with her, and then she sings to everybody, and then she gives everybody a kiss. So
Nice.
So that was your first real kiss.
that was
Yeah.
my first real kiss.
He was sexually assaulted by Diana
Diana
Ross.
Wow. Oh, my God. I think you just unlocked something in my head.
No wonder you're a comedian.
Oh, wow.
I was assaulted by Diana in front of thousands of people.
I was, yeah. That was a me
And my
too.
dad
That
made
was
me
the
do
first.
My dad made me do it. I don't even think he got paid.
Wow, I never thought about that being a real kiss. I didn't count that as a kiss, but you're right. It is a kiss. I mean, it wasn't like a makeout kiss, but it was a
Yeah.
kiss from a woman.
There was tongue though, so
Yeah, there was tongue. She grabbed my ass, but I mean,
sucked
Wow,
my
wouldn't
dick.
that have been amazing if I tongued Diana Ross in her prime?
Yes.
I was a kid. She would have been young. I mean, still, today it would be hot. She's still with us, right?
Yeah. She's still
she
with
has
us.
to be.
Yes, she is. Her daughter is actually a really great actress, and I love her shows. It's like a Black Sex in the City on BET Girlfriends, but it's been on there and off there. This doesn't make y'all don't care about this.
yeah, I don't care about this.
But
And you know, sorry, I was just gonna add. I just figured this out too. It's fun you guys sent me down this rabbit hole because
who
I
else have you
realized
made out with?
what?
Who else have you made out with?
Yeah. No, I remembered. I hadn't realized that the first comedian I probably ever saw live was Gallagher, because he
Oh.
opened either for Diana Ross or Kenny Rogers, one of those. Because I remember it was in the round, and I remember everybody had the plastic.
Oh,
And
yeah, he was fucking huge
he
during
was
that time.
huge. Yeah.
That was before you never.
Plastic. What do you mean? Or
The front row, because do you know
you don't know
Gallagher's
Gallagher
bits?
is?
Oh no, I don't know his beds. Okay,
But you
how
know
do
him.
get
You've
them?
seen him, the guy with the hat and from the
No,
70s.
She has no
I've
idea
heard
what we're
you guys-
talking
I've heard
about.
comedians talk about.
Well, he would come out and smash. Like he'd have
Watermelons.
bits about this is the blah. He'd make up of something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna destroy Gallagher, but he would basically end up smashing watermelons and apples and stuff.
He had a huge like hammer, like it had a like big square on it, and then
He'd
come
call
down,
it the
like, and just
Smasher
smash the whole-
1000 or something. I
Yeah.
forget. He had bits that kind of went along.
Oh my God, you have to look him up just
Okay,
to
I'll
see
look it up.
the
But
bizarreness
the
of
front
it.
row would sit there with
plastic.
Plastic, 'cause
Like they would know.
It's just coming blasting.
Yeah,
at
I'd
you.
go 2-3 rows deep. This,
That's funny. We've never talked about Gallagher. I
I
forgot.
can't, my mind is kind of blown right now that you're just like, I don't.
Yeah, she's still
Who
got-
is this person?
She's young.
Yeah.
She's
Are
still,
you? Is this a work?
No, she
No,
doesn't know
I really
Gallagher.
don't
I know.
know.
I know when she. Yeah, has no
How do you
idea.
not
can
know?
tell.
I mean, you're young, but you're not that young.
Anyway, that's the end of the podcast. Thanks, Mark, for coming down. That's it.
I mean, you should know he's of your era.
No, he's not really. You just missed it. 'Cause were you born?
Really?
Oh, just like 27 years.
Oh
ago.
yeah, we know.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry. What was I thinking?
But no, she doesn't know Gallagher. I can. And
I mean,
that-
it's public
no, I'm
knowledge.
38. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I'm
I
38.
know.
But
Yeah.
I think he was huge in the late
You're
70s.
amazing.
That's like you missed
38.
You're
Gallagher's.
amazing. 38. Shut the fuck up. You already ruined it.
You missed his heyday though, because Gallagher was freaking huge in the late
Sorry,
70s.
all
TV
I can think
shows.
about is like a microneedling appointment or some sort of collagen-inducing something.
He's no Gallagher
I
2,
don't give a
though.
fuck.
Let's go together.
Never gonna have a good thought.
You don't know about
Gallagher
2, his brother that took over his act that looks just like him?
Right.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
She
I've
knows
heard
the
y'all
drama
talk
part
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he would do. What about like the weird stuff? Like, and there was a special where he had a giant couch, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah.
And he had lots of props. So he would have been kind of like I guess, of early Carrot Top, if you will, because there was a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, he didn't have
But
a lot of
in his
different things, but it
specials.
was always smashing some shit.
Especially in when he would do like stuff on Showtime.
And it was pretty family friendly. I mean, you could take the
Yeah,
whole people.
yeah, there's
I'm sure he
kids.
had edgy shows when he was
Yeah.
somewhere, but yeah.
So yeah, that's my first comic, and I didn't realize it
So wait,
until
his brother just took over smashing watermelons?
Pretty much. There was I
his
forget.
brother looked a lot like him, so it was a
Gallagher
easy
retired
sell.
and just kind of sold him the character, or maybe.
Yeah.
And then
I think
there
they
was
had
some
a
beef.
falling out, yeah, because he would go by Gallagher too,
Yeah,
and that was somehow legally okay. I don't know.
we should have Gallagher on.
Yeah,
That'd be
well,
wild.
I think
Or Gallagher too. We could
I
probably get.
think if I'm not mistaken, I don't know, can we look things up?
I don't have my
I
phone.
think he's dead.
Really?
So yeah,
Which
that's
one?
great. The original one, I think.
Should we check on Diana Ross
He-
too?
Yeah, yeah, we should. Yeah,
See
no,
if he's dead. No, that's interesting.
no, he was getting kind of senile, I think, towards the end, and he was very political and.
He definitely got political. And this would be
And,
great if he's still alive.
okay.
We're
One or
eulogizing
two?
him right
Are
now.
we talking about 1 or 2?
I think 2's probably still
Is
around. He didn't.
Gallagher dead. It's 24. Yeah.
He's 24 years
No.
old.
He died a young man.
Yeah. I don't know. Usually they just answer.
Yeah.
And you don't have to.
Jamie, pull that up for us
Is
if you.
Gallagher the comedian deceased?
Oh, you went with the big word. I see.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think. Well, all right. Can you see? You have way younger eyes than me.
See, there you go. Younger eyes.
Okay, Gallagher, comedian, Leo, Anthony, blah, blah, blah. Age 75. No, he's still alive.
Well,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I thought he.
I think he's
Yeah,
dead.
years active, 1969 to present.
Yeah.
But
No.
wait,
No, that's not
But
him
wait,
because
there's
he
more.
was younger.
born
No, years active.
Yeah.
to present.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's still alive, born, and it doesn't say a death.
All right, we're gonna get to the bottom of this, but maybe not right now.
We just buried Gallagher on this podcast.
And Diana Ross. Who
yeah.
else could we kill? Okay, so no, I think it's interesting. You said you had a conservative family, but
Mm.
you're going to all these like rock shows, going to all these shows.
Well, they would bring us. They like to go to concerts, so it was. And then we would also do stuff like again, you're saying like as a kid, my dad would take us down to Bourbon Street, and there was this woman that played like an organ, and I guess she did covers mainly, maybe some of her own, but we would always go to see her, and it was very like Bourbon Street bluesy.
That's
Okay.
a pretty freaking musical talent. I
Yeah.
mean, town
Yeah. Oh yeah.
in New Orleans.
Yeah. Talent
Yes.
and town.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. It is a lot like Nashville.
Yeah,
There's a
just
lot of
dirtier.
players.
The always way I hear this town is like it's like New Orleans, but you're not going to die.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's probably, yeah. And it's newer. Our Broadway, which
Yeah.
is Bourbon Street now, is.
Wasn't that why a lot of women feel safer here than they would like going to Bourbon Street, like in big groups, because there's so many big groups of bachelorettes. and-
Probably. And again,
Yeah.
our downtown it's only been like this for 10 years,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
It was not just packed like that. It was
It wasn't
seedy,
always
like
like
in the
that.
90s,
Mhm.
early 90s, late 80s. Even in high school,
Kinda
we used to go down there
dangerous.
and just hang out because it was dangerous. It was Tootsie's and some titty bars, a liquor store, and Skull's Rainbow, and that's about it.
Mhm.
Homeless people.
Can
Those
I
changed.
ask you a question since we're talking about Broadway and music
Yeah.
and everything? It's about your family, if you know. The story. What is the story about your grandfather laying down in
Oh,
his
yeah.
Broadway?
He-
Like, what was it?
He was
like, what
probably pretty drunk and at Tootsie's, but he got depressed and pissed that he wasn't getting anywhere, and he decided to go out in the middle of the road in Broadway.
So he was trying to get run over.
Mm-hmm. But at the time, there wasn't many people down there.
Yeah, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and nobody's down there besides.
So
just
he got
waiting.
bored. He got bored and got up.
I was going to commit suicide, then I got bored, and here I am.
Oh, there's so many good stories. My grandma was a bartender down there, and they got in many fights, and she would throw bottles at
that bar.
At Tootsie's.
So they would be together, like he'd be working and she'd be working,
and then he was,
right.
That's where the songwriters were. But they're both the back alley of the Ryman was right there, right in the back of Tootsie's. So
you're always together, except for
yeah.
That's why the bottles were being thrown.
Yeah, the bottles were being thrown because for some reason or another.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about that. Like, there's a lot of people who work with their other significant other in some way, and that's I don't know, it's different.
Yeah, as long as you spend time away, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, according to my grandpa, he was like away a lot, I think.
that might have been the problem.
I think that might have been the problem.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah. So what did you transition to? Not transition to. What's your musical taste transition into as you got to teenage years?
As I got older, well, rap came into being when I was a
What was the first rap song you remember hearing and loving?
Like Big Daddy Kane and like there's a couple of those early ones, like the very first. You can look them up on the internet. I'm like, yeah, of course I remember hearing that, but
Dougie Fresh and the Get Fresh crew.
Dougie Fresh.
The show. That was the first thing I had. I had that. The show. It was a 12-inch. It's two different versions of that. An instrumental version, and then Lottie Dottie.
Yeah.
And that one blew me away because it was just Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh. A guy with a microphone doing a beatbox. And a guy storytelling, rapping. That's roped me right into rap.
Yeah, I loved all that. And I remember even before that, or kind of maybe even around this time, probably before that, but I remember music that I didn't like or didn't get that everybody else did. Because I remember going over to a friend's house and he had a Queen album and Bohemian Rhapsody, and he would just rock out and I'd be like, I don't get it. I don't like this at all.
It's still amazing that song is as big as it is, because I don't think there's a weirder, uber popular pop song.
I think as an adult, I appreciate it, and I think it's like musically.
When you think about them doing that without computers and nailing all those singing parts and stuff, it's a very impressive piece of work for sure.
It didn't excite me like like Jerry Jeff Walker or as a younger kid, but then later like rap, and a lot of my friends were going like Metallica. Like rock and hair bands and stuff like that. And I might have listened to I remember having a Rat tape.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember Rat? Round and round.
Earl Skakel's favorite band.
Yeah, I remember. I mean,
you guys can't probably play music on this at all.
We've never really tried. Only ours.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get a copyright claim on those.
Yeah, because I had saved that one weird song that I remember. And I also remembered that, I don't know if you guys ever do this. It's a fun thing to do with your friends. Do you use Shazam?
The app? I have. Remind me what it is, though.
It's when you hold it up and it'll tell you what song's playing.
No, I use Soundhound, but it's the same thing, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So a fun thing to do when you're trying to figure out your friend's musical taste
into it?
Is like everybody gets their phone out and you got to go around the room and play the last one that you did, because that's usually a pretty good indicator of like where your mind's at. Like, oh, I want to remember this. Like this is, and you get some like weird shit that you might not, think people know about you and stuff. And it's I think it's fun because
it's like the old school iPod shuffle. If you had all of your collection in there and you're playing it at a party, and all of a sudden, like, I don't know, Debbie Gibson song comes on or something, you're like, whoa, that must have been somebody else's in my playlist. Because you just had all your stuff loaded up.
Yeah,
you could be really exposed during one of those sessions.
We had a band game that we did for 5 seconds where we would send the last text message you got from your mom. And that was kind of fun, too. Just want to throw that out there for you to play with your friends.
Do you want to hear my last one?
Yep.
I don't know if I can even read it.
You have to now.
Remember our first kiss back then?
I think it was about this. I was actually asking her about music, and she was mostly just going, I don't know. I don't know.
Never heard of her.
I don't
Raelyn,
remember. And I'm like, Mom, well, what car were we riding around in? Because I remember a lot of the music I was listening to was your music.
And I really do want to know what kind of car y'all were riding in.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And she was like, I don't know. I'm like, you don't remember what kind of car you had? I remember all of them.
Right.
And what they smelled like. And, what all the details. But she's like, I don't know. I'm like, wasn't it a sedan? I don't know. Could have been a Pontiac, I guess. I'm like, oh, and then she tells me this. She goes, well, I had a Volkswagen, and car seats weren't a thing. And I remember slamming on the brakes, and you just rolled onto the seat, onto the floor on your face. And I'm like,
She remembers the
Wow.
good stuff.
Mom, so did I hit my head? I mean, was that my first head hit?
I don't know.
So, Brand New Key. Do you remember that song? By Melanie?
You got a brand new key. Is it that one?
I think so, yeah.
I got a brand new pair of roller skates.
Yeah.
I got a brand new key.
There you go.
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah.
But I just know that lyric.
That's from like
I don't know who did it.
70.
Yeah, that's an old one.
3, somewhere in there. I looked it up.
It's a strange song too.
It is,
Just
yeah.
that whole vocal line there. It's like,
Maybe that's why it was hooky, huh?
that's why I like it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I still like it.
Yeah, that's interesting too. Is like and I mean, I sound like a newbie, you music expert saying this, but I guess
We're definitely experts.
the hook can be stuff like that. It doesn't have to
It could be a guitar lick for me.
Right,
Yeah, me too.
Anything that just sucks you in, you know?
right, and not necessarily a line or something like that.
Sometimes a line, but not.
Yeah, not
sometimes
always.
It's a hook of the
Yeah,
instruments. Sometimes
Yeah.
the bass is.
I
like
was
the
gonna.
boom,
I was what Steely Dan. That was a big one that
Oh,
my
yeah.
mom. ELO, Wings, like
Steely
Paul
Dan was very subversive too. If you sit down and listen to their lyrics, they were pulling off some crazy stuff.
Yeah, no, there's a documentary that
Outstanding musicianship on
Yeah.
every Steely Dan record.
yeah, and they weren't necessarily. Do you know Steely Dan?
You would know their songs. Very
Do you know what they look like?
smooth.
They weren't necessarily great looking guys.
Well, when you
right?
saw them,
they weren't like rock star looking.
I didn't
guys.
like
They
them
looked
when I
like
was a kid because it was so smooth. It sounded like your parents' music.
Yeah.
And then I saw pictures of them in the studio. I'm like, that's Steely Dan? Yeah. But
Yeah.
they really smooth, just outstanding musicianship and some subversive lyrics.
There was a documentary that I just happened to be watching with a friend who was watching it, and I was happy to. I'm like, I'm so glad that I saw this because it was them, and they
Right.
were going through song by song
Oh, that's cool.
in the studio with all the
Behind the board, pulling stuff in and out.
yeah, like this is just the thing by
Yeah.
itself, and you'd hear just
Those are
this
always
one
interesting.
piece of the song, and it was fascinating to see him build it all back in, and then you realize, oh my God, there's like, so many layers that I never appreciated until I saw him pull it all apart into those pieces.
That's kind of like us with comedy. I never appreciate it. It just seems like dudes up there. I always talk about like seeing Louis C.K. talk about it, and it's been years ago, but talking about how he's setting everything up and writing. And it just hit me. I'm like, oh, wait, all of his pauses and bumbling around and when he stutters and anything, that's all on purpose. He's just not up there just winging it.
Sure.
But it feels like he's winging it.
That's cool.
And
You
that's
see
what
that.
makes those
Yeah.
guys genius. So it's the same,
Yeah, yeah. There's I guess you like think of it as a music to it. I certainly do because
there's a
all
rhythm for
that
sure.
is in my head when I'm performing. I know, like when I time certain things out, or even, it can get as specific as if I move to the right side of the stage and then I punch over here to the left. Like it's all it's all a part of it. So
listen
that's
to-
cool.
And listening to comics talk about it, they're like, well, when I started, I don't know, am I a sit-down comic on the stool? Do I stand up? And I'm like, I've never thought of any of that. But if
Yeah.
you walk up there,
Yeah, it's a big part of it. It always has been for me, at least. All of not just what you're saying, but
All of
everything. Your body language, your everything. I always tried to be really dirty, but with a very charming approach, so
Right.
that it was palpable.
Sure.
So it wasn't just fuckity fuck. It was
Yeah.
like I was, I got away with it because I'm, likable.
So how,
So Gallagher was the first comedian you saw. What was the first comedian you remember really liking and loving?
Oh, a guy that would come through the local comedy club. When I was 18, I decided I wanted to do this, and so I would go and hang out at the Funny Bone.
what made you decide to do
Yeah,
it?
what?
I was watching a lot of A&E's. Evening at the Improv was very popular in the late 80s, and that was when comedy was just an explosion in the 80s. That's you
Yeah.
got Sam Kinison coming out, and Robin Williams and all these people are just exploding out of California in the 80s. And they started putting on comedy every night at 10 o'clock on cable. And that's what I watched every night. And so at some point, somebody in my family was like, "You're always talking about comics and watch this show all the time. Why don't you," it was kind of a put up or shut up. "Why don't you try it? Why don't you, if you like it so much, why don't you try it?" And I did, and it worked great. And so I just kept doing it after that. But at that time, at the same time, there was this guy named Todd Yan who was just so explosive. I always was gravitated to the guys that would come on stage, and it was a more popular way to do comedy at that time because it was probably newer. I think people things are different now. I think people are very critical of big energy guys now.
Right.
They tend to want to say they're overselling it or whatever, and really popular guys like Tom Segura just stand there and monotone talk and get away with it. And I'm like, how does he do that? How does he, because I came up in an era where a guy would take the stage like a fucking hurricane.
Right.
And you would sit back in your seat like it was a fucking ride, and you'd just be like blown away by how much energy they brought to the stage and how wild they were and these crazy fucking voices, and it was all big. Big was popular when I was, coming up. So that guy, Todd Yan, he was just wild. He was just wild. He was that.
That's like music. I mean, you got the 70s and 80s, whatever, hair bands, stuff blowing up, people jumping around,
Right.
dressing up. Grunge comes along, and they just stand there and play
with
this
their
whole
eyes
shoegazer thing. So, and there's room for all of it. you know? Same way in comedy. But
and I do like guys like Mitch Hedberg.
Oh.
I thought was
Yeah.
not a big energy guy, but he was original. Like there was like,
oh yeah,
and there was legitimacy to why he always had sunglasses on and his head down and stuff. Like he had a lot of social anxiety and he couldn't look at the crowd and stuff. So it wasn't like he was trying to be like super cool and monotone like a lot of these kids who are like making great points about life and stuff.
a lot of these kids trying to do Mitch Hedberg.
I'm like, Mitch was an original. Like he was that way for a reason. And I don't know. There's just a lot of younger comics where I don't see it. So
Same kind of thing with music and comedy. It's hilarious. I mean, there's a lot of musicians like,
but
I
different
don't get the
tastes.
younger shit.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
do your first comedy open mic, I guess.
How'd it
Went
go?
well.
Going
Right?
well?
Yeah. It's probably, I wouldn't have done it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and I think about that moment a lot. Like, if that wouldn't have gone so well, would I have tried it? Or, like, is that bad that it went so well? Because I immediately had this, like, notion that I somehow was a natural. Like, there we go.
This is going to be easy.
Sign me up for a sitcom.
This
I've
is
done
gonna-
one performance.
Right.
Yeah.
And
But-
that was kind of the bag back then, pre-internet stuff. It seemed like the path for a comedian
was
to
the
get loaded was go
Yeah.
get semi-big in stand-up, get discovered, and get a sitcom basically kind of based on your life
That's-
or your act.
Sure, that's all I grew up with. That's all I saw was guys like Robin Williams and Seinfeld and Roseanne, and you would know them. I knew them as comics because I was watching all these, A&E and my friends had HBO. We didn't have HBO. Well, my friend, and that was the first people to put out specials, so you'd see Carlin and so you'd see all these guys would be great comics, and then they get a sitcom, and then they'd, be the richest, most successful people in the business. They were, on the Carson show all the time. So you're like, that's a cool path.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that, so.
Doesn't seem that is the case much anymore with the internet.
No.
Nobody's trying to get a TV
Well, there's
show
no
'cause nobody
sitcoms.
watched TVs. Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast the other day with, I think it was the guy who had produced Cheers. I can't remember his name. George Soros, something like that. Anyway, doesn't matter. But he was saying at some point there was like 60-something sitcoms, multi-camera sitcoms like Roseanne and
Right.
Tim Allen and all that stuff. And now there's 6.
Wow.
So it's a dead thing. they don't even do that anymore. And like you just were saying, it's not a necessary path anymore because you can have a much bigger career as a comic, just being a comic by itself, you know?
Yeah. And you can
So-
also build your career without really, I mean,
Without,
I don't know how effectively you can do
podcasts
it, but
and-
there's that. But without having to hit the road and do the grind like it was back in the day, like you really just had to get out.
Yeah.
I assume you, like, all right, I'm
Well,
doing
yeah.
all right here. So where are all
Yeah,
the
when
other
I was-
comedy clubs?
when I
What
was-
what was it like once you're like, all right, I'm in, I'm doing this? Is it hit the road time or?
Oh yeah, that's all I did, and that's what I was gonna say. When I was younger, before all the internet and all that stuff existed, it was just enough to say like I'm a full-time professional touring comedian. Like that
Yeah.
was it. That was so exciting. And then if you were to get a sitcom or something like that, that would be great too. But you know, I made good money on the road. You sold a lot of merch, and you were living the dream. So, and that was all you were trying to do is fill your calendar. You know, you're like, okay, cool. You'd get a booker on the phone, and they'd give you 7 weeks or something like that. You're like, I'm a professional comedian again this year because I know this is going to carry me, and I know I can fill this in with some one-nighters, and you know, and that was it. You just get in your car, and we were talking about that earlier, you know, 10 hours in the car. Like, it's
yeah.
nothing, you know, because
Yes.
you're having a blast. You're doing these live shows and all across, seeing the world. So that was it. That was all I was, you know, trying to do. But now, yeah, it's like, it's so, like, goes in many directions, podcasts and...
Yeah, it's weird for like Me Too when you're part of that whole kind of thing, talking about music.
The
Then,
Me Too movement?
Huh?
Did you say Me Too? You said Me Too being part of the whole thing?
Yeah, he's a part of the Me Too movement.
yeah.
He just said it.
That's what he said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Me Too.
I got your back.
Anyway, but yeah, it
She's
is
throwing lines.
It is.
That's what it sounded like. I was just wanted to clarify.
I like it that, you know, I'm being serious and you're being funny. So that's the way it should work.
I mean, funny, but
No, you guys, yeah.
You
I
said
say-
Me Too when I was a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I said
I
Me
just
Too.
wanted you to.
Part of what?
That's what you said. Me Too.
Yeah, this is going nowhere. Yeah, I was just saying that it is weird when you come up in a certain way of doing things and the business happens this way and there's paths you take, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere it's just like bang, none of that really holds true anymore. I've been through that with music, and there's a weird headspace.
Right.
You're like, huh, so what's the new thing? Although I have found out that the business aspect hasn't really changed at all. There's still people out there that maybe not have ill intentions but can't provide what they say they're going to do, that kind of stuff.
Oh,
and that
yeah. You
reminds
mean
me
like
of
in the
the
club-
90s. Yeah,
club world?
clubs,
Yeah.
booking stuff, you know,
Managers.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
That stuff hasn't changed.
No. They've become less powerful, don't you
Yeah,
think?
you don't need them as much.
Right.
But when you do come in contact with them, because when we
Yeah.
started doing the Raelyn Nelson band,
Are you farting over there?
it did sound like that.
No, I'm not.
Because I know, all right.
Anyway,
I don't do that.
me too. But anyway, yeah, when we started the Raelyn Nelson band, we took meetings with, I had not dealt with that world in so long. I'm like, I don't know, I guess we should take some meetings with these people that want to talk to us about stuff. And it sounded like every meeting I'd been in 15 years before. Nothing changed. Like, you know, have you ever thought about getting your grandpa's mailing list and mailing? It's like stuff like that. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So that stuff's still there.
I think if I ever could communicate to a younger person, I think my biggest regret when it comes to that kind of thing is always trying to believe that there was somebody who could tell me better what to do. You know, like
Yeah.
I always would look to these managers and people like, oh, you have the answer. Like, you know, because you're smarter than me and all that stuff. And it never works out. Like,
Yeah, there's people with knowledge, but they don't know anymore because if they did, everything they touched would be number one or be a huge hit.
Right.
Everybody's just taking
and it took
educated
me
guess.
a long time to figure out. I got me here. Like, all the things I did got me here. So why would I think this fucking asshole over here has the answer? Like, I know
Right.
the answer. I just have to have faith that I have the answer and not, you know, because every time I've like made a mistake or a wrong turn, it's been at the fucking hands of some asshole going, you should do this or you should do that.
Yeah.
oh, okay. You know, I got a chance to shoot a pilot one time, and they told me to do it different than I had been doing it, you know, to get me the job. Oh, well, you know, you should tone this down or do this different. And I did that, and it went nowhere. And I was like, why the fuck did I listen to them?
Yeah, at least
I was the one who got the fucking pilot.
If I'm going to fail, let me go ahead and fail with my own idea instead of failing with somebody else's.
Again, I would just always like be like, oh, this guy has my best interest. Like he wants to succeed too. And he has all this experience from working on with these people. You know, you always put the people that they worked with. And,
Yeah. Then you don't realize, well, those are the people they're going to be working on and not so much me because their bread and butter is coming from those people. You know?
I know this more and more, and now it's funny to me, and I really want to, I struggle with not being shitty in these meetings. I had a meeting the other day with these people who were supposed to have all the fucking answers. And I sat down with like 8 people at a conference table, and what do you think that they told me I should do? What do you guys think their big fucking solution was?
To get your grandpa's content.
Yeah. Get your grandpa's mailing list.
Have you tried TikTok? Have you tried TikTok? And I wanted to be like, I drove to town for this.
Oh my God.
That's what you brought to the table? TikTok. I know what fucking TikTok
And
is.
then they probably just read an article like, oh, this TikTok thing seems to be big. Have you tried TikTok?
Yeah. You don't have any real. So I would just always say, you know, those people, I think, and they're not all that. You know, I'm not saying.
Yeah, there's good people out there
100%.
for sure.
But I just
We
think.
haven't met them, but they're probably out there.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I've met a lot of people who seem like they were gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of those.
And even some who really had good intentions, but just.
A lot of them have good intentions.
but reality and practicality.
They just, or ability
And then
to do what
nobody
they say.
really gives a shit about what you're doing by yourself. You know, I mean, ultimately, as much as they're like, you know, I mean, if you're
They got their own shit going on too.
if you're moving money, that's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody wants to
then
come
they'll kiss
say
your
hello.
ass a little
for sure.
bit, but that, as you know, in this business is up and down. So sometimes you're moving money, and they're right there, and they're like answering your calls, and they're great. And then as soon as that changes, then it's like fucking hard to get them on the phone, and you're like, well, I thought we were ups and downs.
Tell him I'll get back to him. Tell him to try TikTok. I'll get back to him.
Yeah, see if he knows what TikTok is.
It's like MySpace.
Reels, shorts, get him on that.
Reels and shorts. That's big now.
See if,
I get it though. I mean, you could do just the tiniest little thing and it could go viral, and then everything changes. We've talked to a couple of people that that's happened to. You know, Mr. D Comedy is one of the ones that just like did something, put it out, went viral. Next day he had a comedy career. You know, on Ellen, and then had shows booked. You know,
Well, there's just so many different avenues now with music and comedy. I mean, you can go the traditional route, get out and hit the road and play a bunch, which I still think is the
of course,
best way to get the best out of yourself, at least a little bit. But you don't have to. You can make a record in your bedroom, make a video, and it can go huge, and you don't ever have to play in front of anybody. And
I would think, though, it's
cash.
pretty different between music and comedy in the sense that, like, if you're in your bedroom and you are working on your guitar and you put out a song, there's a pretty good chance if you went out and got on the road, you could back it up, right? Like, you could be a legitimate performer, you know, whereas in comedy, there's a lot of people who have like a kind of a weird video that might pop or something thing, and then they'll book a show at Zany's and it's horrific because they just had that one thing. They're not a real comic.
yeah,
right?
So I feel like in music you could not, I don't know, am I wrong? Could you pull it off, or do you see the holes? Like if you saw somebody else.
I see what you're saying.
I think you could
yes.
probably pull it off maybe a little easier in music just because
Cover
people would
songs.
come to just hear that one song.
Right.
And if you're a big enough YouTube star or whatever that has millions of, just to see
Well,
you. And then you hear the one song, you're like, and they move along. But, you know.
Well, in the comedy, I'd say side of it, then in a similar way, I've seen this at Zany's and other comedy clubs a lot, like these, like I'm saying, these YouTubers or Instagram, TikTok, whatever, and they won't really have a polished professional stand-up act, but the audience often doesn't seem to care because they really just came for the Instagram picture or whatever, something with them to say, look, I did this thing or I went and saw this.
Right.
Like it has a different meaning, I think, even than when I was go see comedy. Like I went to go see those guys when I was 18 because I was just, I don't know, I was blown away by how funny they were and laughing and, you know, being brought to tears, like, you know, with joy. It wasn't like, because I saw this guy on this thing and he's popular, so I want to be a part of it for one night only. I don't know. It just doesn't compute.
Yeah, and it's they probably have really good first tours and then nobody shows up. It's like William Hung or something.
Right,
Like,
but and
you
then
go see him,
right?
and it's one hit, and then nobody's going
What
back.
happened to that
But
guy?
that, like, that's
Is he
not-
dead? Did we kill
Yeah,
him? We just killed him.
Well, I mean, it's like,
They
what's
buried
the
him with
point of
Gallagher.
that, though, right? You know, because that's like I was saying, you want to be able to do it year after year, and you
Yeah,
want
well,
to
some
get
people,
better.
some
and you
people
want to
be
grow
famous,
and-
you know, and that's a
Yeah,
different
that's
thing.
I want to
That's
get
a
better.
different thing, right? Because if you just want fame, you can do exactly what the machine wants you to do, and they'll just put
They've
you
already
down.
got it. They've already got it programmed. If they
Yeah.
like you, they can put you right
if
in
you're
there.
a yes man, you
Yeah.
don't care. Then
The fame and the money obviously was always a possibility when I started as a kid, but my focus wasn't on that. It was on how fun it was to do. And I want to get better at this so I can do this in front of bigger and bigger crowds and experience this drug on a higher level. Because to me, it was like the best drug I'd ever taken. And it still is. There's nothing that compares to it.
Yeah.
But surely you were like
Someone laughing.
myself that had the same thing starting music. You're like, yeah, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I hope for some fame and fortune based on this. But I also didn't think, as a cocky, 19-year-old, I'm like, I'm sure some of that fame and fortune is going to come. I'm not going to do it for like
Sure.
30 years if it doesn't come. And here I am.
But but also, I feel like, and maybe you had the same mindset, it was like you were aware of that part of it, but it wasn't everything. And you kind of, at least I felt like which I enjoyed doing it, if I got better at doing it and I focused on that, then hopefully some of that other
Yeah.
stuff would come along. If I just focused on, and I liked doing that anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love doing it. And once you get to a point like, oh, maybe I'm not going to be a millionaire, blah, blah, but you get, if you're in a band or you're doing something, each little success you
Yeah.
have, this guy wrote about you, you played this show that was great, you opened for this, met these people.
Right.
It's just enough to keep you going because you like to do it so much. And eventually
Yeah.
you'll make some money at it if you just beat your head against the wall long
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
But if I
would
wanted to be famous, I'd have quit a long time ago. So I don't know if that's good or bad.
My biggest drug of it, like I say, of it was always the size and the intensity of the response.
Yeah.
Like if those came together and some, like you say, you got to open for this or that, and there was 10,000 or whatever, and it went well, and I mean that could last for days.
Yeah, and but it's
Just fun.
funny. But yet, and we've talked about this a bunch, most of my memories, like solid memories of playing gigs or whatever, are always the bad ones, are always the ones that went crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's the most fun to tell when you're done with them.
Yeah, because
Like,
you survived it.
it's like Stanhope said, there's only one best. Everything else is second to that, and that's kind of boring. So, but the shitty gigs, those are the
Yeah.
ones that have memories that will last forever.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's true. I remember all the shitty ones.
Yeah. Have you ever had? Have you ever been attacked or anything on stage? Like any?
No.
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 I've had a
Have
couple
you
of-
had? Okay,
yeah,
what happened?
Yeah, well, funnier, because I've had variations of like altercation type weird stuff. I had somebody laser point me one night.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, well, it can
Remember
burn
those
out
things
your
were big?
retina
Yeah.
too.
I remember those were big for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Remember the laser pointers?
Yeah.
Everybody?
I had a guy on the side of the stage. These are just kind of random ones where he took the mic cord and he jerk it like that, and so the mic kept going like that in my hand. I'm like, hey. I've had somebody pass out on the stage. I had somebody throw up on the stage, like how the tables are right up on the
Yeah,
stage.
yeah.
Bachelorettes, and she just all over the stage.
Now, I can't say I haven't thrown up on a stage that I've been performing on way back in the day, but that's a whole nother story.
This is
And there was a bucket there, so.
in Albuquerque, New
Got a
Mexico.
bucket.
There was a strip club right behind the comedy club called TD's Showcase. It's still there.
This dick.
The comedy club's not there, but it's there. And so one night, one of the strippers and some really scary looking dudes from Albuquerque all were in the front. And I was on stage, and it was like a like a pizza pie, like a triangle room, so
Yeah.
it's like all the awesome. That's the best kind of room to do comedy on. Side note, is because all of the laughter's like funneled
Right
right
there
into
at
your
you.
face.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm over here doing crowd work, which, by the way, I used to do a shitload of crowd work before all these people put all this crowd work up, and I used to get in so much trouble for doing it. But it was so fun to do because it's like walking out on a tightrope.
Yeah.
Like how far can I go with this? But yeah, now like guys like Schultz and stuff I think his whole special is crowd work, and it's so popular now. But club owners would pull me aside and be like, "I didn't fucking hire you to talk to the crowd. Do your fucking act,"
Right.
And so they would get pissed. So if you did it, you were, I've lost work.
I've heard comics complain about it because if they're following it or something, if you're headlining, it's one thing, but they're like, if somebody's doing crowd work before me, it gives the audience carte blanche to talk to me during my set.
Yeah, no, that's an unwritten rule. As you don't do crowd work before,
Right. You got to be the headliner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, a lot of people break that rule.
Yeah. Unless you're getting heckled, I guess you're.
And I would imagine now, like I haven't been in clubs with other comics, because I'm working, but I would imagine there's a lot of features and even probably hosts doing crowd work because it's so popular now.
That makes
And it's
sense.
just easy to ask a question, kind of. And is that considered crowd work if you're asking a question?
I don't know if you're
No,
probably setting
no.
up
You have to-
if you're setting up
No,
a bit.
crowd work is being funny on the fly with the crowd. It's
Yeah.
not just going, "Hi, how are you? Where are you from?" No, you got to work the fuck. You got to play off of what they're doing or
Yeah,
what
yeah.
they're
It's like improv,
saying.
basically.
And it's got to be fast. And Schultz is good at it.
He is good. He's
if
quick.
you've watched his stuff, like his jokes come fast, and they're good, and they're right on the edge of what's tolerable, and that's what I think is the best kind of crowd work. Is,
Right.
You know who's good here? God, what's his name? He was here during the pandemic.
Josh Wolf.
No.
Theo Vaughn, Dusty Sled. Trying to name all the Nate
Chance
Bargatze,
Willie.
Kathleen Madigan.
John B.
No.
Christ. We're
you
just
would
naming
No,
Nashville
he's
comedians.
the best at crowd work. So
Who's-
you would know.
Ian Bagg.
The Asian guy.
Oh, Steve Byrne.
Byrne.
We've had him on her. That
Steve
dude is
Byrne.
hilarious.
He is great at crowd work.
I mean, just blow my mind. Like that was the kind of night where you're in the back going, I thought I was fucking good at this until I'm sitting here watching him, and I'm like, I gotta leave. Like I'm fucking terrible at this compared to this guy.
Yeah, we had him on the podcast, and he came out before a Josh Wolf thing that we
He
went down
did.
for,
Oh
and
my
did probably
God.
10 minutes of just walked down. It's like, I'm just
You
doing
want
crowd work.
so if you're curious, like what really, really amazing crowd work is, that's the guy.
Yeah,
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 he
you're
was-
right.
I
it was
mean,
great.
Quick.
blistering quick.
Yeah.
And like I say, right on that edge of like where the crowd's gonna go, oh shit. I can't
Exactly.
believe he said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that to me was like that was part of the high of doing stand up, was because up there in that moment I was allowed to say whatever the fuck came into my head. It's not like real life. So now you're walking around in the grocery store and you got to be fucking, normal guy to everybody else. And you think about like when I'm on stage and the crowd wants me to say that thing, I can say anything. It's such a free, there's nowhere I've ever felt
It's like being in a
more
jam band or a jazz combo. You're
free
like,
to speak.
here's the framework,
Yeah.
and then we're just going to go with it.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Like, I think you doing stand up, so you should kind of understand. Do you take
a
big
comedian.
swings?
Big swings.
I mean, like chances, like say some wild shit that you can't say in your regular life. Or are you
I'm
on
sure
a
I
script
will.
right now?
Right
Raylan's
now,
got
I'm
3.5 minutes. I mean, 5 minutes.
no, it's about
Well,
3
no,
minutes.
that's
He's
okay.
right.
I'm not being critical. I'm just in the
I am.
beginning.
No, I'm just kidding.
You tend to stick to a script because you're just trying to get these fucking words out and say the thing, and hopefully it works.
I
and then
ventured
can
out a
come
little
back.
bit the last time. I will say, like it was just kind of easy to in the moment.
Yeah, I
with
thought
the-
you had said you did some crowd work.
Just
Now,
a
we
little
do
bit.
crowd work all the time, and we play
Oh,
as
yeah.
a band.
I feel like that is our.
Okay, so that's got to be comparable. But you're
Oh, yeah.
also probably have.
That was my first taste of stand-up comedy, is us telling jokes in between.
But you're also are you expected to be like family friendly, or like can you say some crazy shit?
Well, if our gigs are any indication, the family friendly part hasn't come in. I mean, sometimes she's aware of the crowd, and maybe we won't go there. But we've said some horrible things on stage during our live performances. Not horrible.
Yeah,
but
I don't.
I've
very
heard you say
edgy
some
comedy.
really funny, crazy shit like one on one when we're hanging
Right.
out.
Yeah. I feel like I'm the same way on the stage.
we
Unless
s-
someone tells me, hey, don't say the F word. And then even still, I probably will do it because they put that in my
That's true.
head.
Yeah. But isn't that fun? Don't you find that like this? I wish I could be more like this authentic with everybody in my life all the time. But that's not how the world works. So
Yeah, and Raelyn also talks a lot of shit in real life too. So there's not a whole lot of difference.
Yeah, I try to be pretty authentic and genuine.
well, I'm just like again,
Christ.
the shit I say on stage, I would get in fights.
I'm pretty much a perfect
I would
person
get-
and comedian, Mark. Okay, perfect.
I
over
would
here.
get canceled. I would get in fights. I would start trouble. But on stage, everybody laughs.
Are you worried about getting canceled?
No, I'm just
Okay.
saying like when you're on stage, you have a freedom to be wild.
Yeah,
Right.
And if you said that at the Walmart
Yes,
at the
you're
checkout,
I
if
see
you
where you're
made the
going.
same joke,
Yes.
Yes.
you would get your fucking teeth knocked down
Yes,
your throat.
I agree. Yes.
But in the comedy club, everybody fucking laughs and celebrates your wild fucking crazy thought. But
Mm-hmm.
in Walmart, you just have to think it, and then it's in your head, and you're all right. And
Yeah,
then
but at least that's
nice to see you guys. And I feel like it's fake. I feel like in real life, I have to put on this suit of like acceptability, like everybody nice.
Or living in society.
But on
here.
stage, I can just
Yes.
say your fucking teeth look crazy, and whatever. I can,
Oh,
you know.
yes. Yeah, you probably should stick with that just on the stage. Don't be telling people in Walmart
He's
that
running
their
around
teeth look
Target
crazy.
like, how'd you got funky teeth? Look how
What
huge your
happened?
ass is.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. So anyway,
There was I just saw this the other day. There's a comedian that does cat calls to girls, but he says nice things.
oh,
Have you
that
seen
dude,
Benedict?
yeah, Ben. I know Ben.
Oh, you know Ben?
Yeah,
Daisy's the one. She was like, "Have
he
you
was
seen
on
this
Love Island or whatever.
F Boy Island with Nikki
Oh,
Glaser?"
here we go. She's a Nikki Glaser
Oh,
fan.
I
That's
just
her
saw
Everybody
that.
check
He
out
was
F Boy
on
Island
that.
on HBO
Yeah,
Max.
check
My
out
girl Nikki
Ben.
Glaser. She's my
He's
bestie.
funny.
But anyway, he goes like, "Hey girl, you look like you know how to switch the remote from TV to HDMI." You know, it's just all positive, fun stuff. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I saw those. Those are really good. He does a lot of funny stuff, and he's great at
That's all I know that he does.
Instagram. I did stand up with him in Kentucky.
Oh, cool. Okay,
Yeah,
sweet.
and I mean,
Is he an F boy?
he's really like straight laced. Like
So he's a nice guy. There's
a
either
really
F boy or
nice
nice
guy.
guy if you're into the show.
I don't know the show, but I didn't get that sense because there was me and another comic and him, and
Did he try to fuck you guys?
he tried to fuck us.
But he was also very polite. So, I mean,
He asked nicely.
Yeah.
We gave him handies in the car and sent him on his way. No, he was like, we would be going out. I remember that. We'd be like, yeah, let's go hang out with these people after the show.
Yeah.
They want to hang out. Yeah. And but he never would. He would be like, I got to work out in the morning to go make some protein shakes and. No, he was nice. He was always like eating healthy, and he's a good guy. He's a good guy. He was
Yeah.
funny on stage too, but his videos are hilarious. Like he does the one where he interviews people. Have you seen those?
I've only just saw. This is my first.
And he'll make himself up. Like he'll do like him this way.
Yeah.
Like he's got a clipboard and he's like, it says you went to college, and then the person, whatever and he'll be dressed up in the other
Yeah.
shot and say some wild shit, and it's him going off of him.
I love those. That's great.
Yeah, I think that's like we were talking about before. Like, it's such a different approach. Like, again, none of that existed. So you went down to the club, you tried to watch and figure it out, and maybe go up on open mic night if they had that, and
see what worked.
that was it. That was it. There wasn't like, I'm gonna make a video with myself at my kitchen table and become famous. So weird.
Yeah.
But I love it. I think I appreciate it. It's just, it's so
Roll with the
different.
punches for sure. All right, we're bumping up against an hour, so
Okay, so what's the? You mentioned that I don't know if it was your mom or you went to the first Papa Willie or that show at the airport with my grandpa.
1974.
1974. But what other Papa Willie stories do you have? Do you have like what's the first time you remember hearing about him, or do you have any other cool?
I was
Willie
thinking about
Nelson
the
stuff?
movie that he did. Was
He's
it called
done a couple of
Honeysuckle
them. Yeah,
Rose?
yeah.
Okay, because that's the name of his bus too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here's his bus right here. We
Yeah,
brought
Yeah,
it
you've
in
got
for
it
you.
parked right here behind us. You might not have noticed that, but yeah.
That's right. I forgot we were just out
He's
front
actually
the
on-
bus.
Yeah.
He's actually on
He's
Honeysuckle Rose,
inside.
like the third. So this is one,
Okay.
and he lets us.
No,
Well,
I
you can
remember.
ask
Do you
him.
remember what year that movie
Oh, yeah.
came out?
You could ask him. He's just super quiet today.
Yeah, it's a good shot of him. Actually.
kinda
It's a
drunk right
good
now on
shot.
his
I was
tequila.
thinking, doesn't he have his own whiskey?
Whiskey River.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why isn't he holding the Whiskey River? You should paint over that.
I'm pretty
Cuervo.
sure Jose Cuervo paid him a little bit
Yeah, that might
of
have been
money
during the
for that
IRS
one.
years.
That deal's probably been long spent.
During the
money's gone.
IRS years, he might have had to take some
Yeah.
tequila money to get through
Some
those.
tequila money.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you remember when that movie came out? Because I remember.
I know when my dad was in the movie. He was like an extra and did stuff.
Was it 70s? You think? Or
Probably 80s. I think it was the
Probably
80s.
early 80s.
Mm-hmm. Early 80s.
Okay, I'd have been so young.
Before me. I wasn't even
I was
born
basically
yet.
sperm in 1980.
I was
But no, I remember seeing that movie and just thinking, like, what a romantic life to live on the road and perform in front of people. And
Yeah.
I don't think I was thinking about comedy at that point either. But just that I loved that. I don't know I remember the movie and thinking that I like that guy. I like that life, and I loved his bus. Because I
Me
was
too.
a boy and I liked trucks and buses and cars.
Yeah.
Still
I've always
do.
wanted a tour bus. Thank
Yeah?
God he lets us use this one. But yeah, I thought as soon as you were a musician, you got a tour bus
Yeah.
and you were on the road, you had gigs,
Yeah.
you were
Yeah.
famous. I thought it was just an immediate
was a
thing.
We had a discussion to have when we started working together. I'm like, well, all right, it's not going to be quite like that, but
I always love it. Anytime it's ever happened, that always feels like some sort of marker. You know,
Yeah.
like
they are fun.
I got to do this, and Rodney Carrington would have been the first guy who introduced in the '90s.
Yeah.
I remember we had a big tube TV. I found a picture of us outside. He used
Things
to play.
weighed like 1,000 pounds.
Yeah. That's what was blowing my mind. I'm like, oh yeah, they had that big ass heavy TV on there.
Yeah.
But so Rodney Carrington brought me to open for him in the
Cool.
'90s in Texas, and all these crazy honky tonks where it'd be like, 2,000 fucking cowboys standing like shoulder to shoulder pressed up against the stage, which is not how comedy usually goes.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
And then, he'd break out that guitar. He's an amazing stand-up, but, he'd break out the guitar and, "Dare, penis!"
Yeah.
Fucking, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, my God, comedy can be like rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then anytime as a comic when I would get to open for musicians, it was such night and day different experience. Like, you were treated with respect, like, what can I get you something, that kind of thing, like showing you to the stage, all these fucking things that don't happen in the comedy world. Like, in the comedy world, they're like, you're lucky if they don't keep moving you around. Like, you can't stand here. You're in the
Right.
fucking way of the staff. Well, there's no green room. Well, fucking move over there. I don't, So
Yeah.
that's how they treat you as a comic at a comedy club. You're as good as the fucking chicken
Hey,
wings.
you can get that in clubs as a musician too. For sure.
But then when I would do these music sometimes opening, I would be like, oh my God, I'm treated so special. And I got to go hang out on the tour bus. And
Yeah, it's like the womb. You get in there and you just get off
Yeah.
everything and you get back on. You're like, safety again.
I got kicked off of Ron White's tour bus when I was
Oh,
younger.
Well done. Well done.
I was playing the Funny Bone. Do you want to kind of tell this?
Yes.
Okay.
This would be good to end on for sure.
Okay, yeah. Well, on this, I was playing the Funny Bone, and I was actually doing music. And at this time, my second album has 10 songs on it, and I was like, I'd seen all these guys like Rodney doing these crazy songs on Bob and Tom, and so I had brought this guy out with me who was opening for me but played the guitar. And so at the end, he would come up and we would sing these ridiculous, dirty songs about my grandmother's sexual activities and
Nice.
girls with periods and all kinds of horrific, like just the dirtiest, like awful. So when I look back, I'm like, what were we thinking? Let's be outrageous. So anyway, it was kind of working and kind of getting some traction. And it was like the first time I got a club to give me a door deal. And so that was such a, now I'm not just making the regular, $1,000, $1,200 for the weekend. Now I'm going to get to take a piece of the door. But the club was so smart, and I'm sure you've had this happen, where they know what their numbers are, and they know what they're going to do, and they're like, dangle this fucking carrot in front of you. You're actually not going to, you're going to make less. No. So we get there, and there's no tickets sold, none. And so they're like, here's some cards, go hand these out at the mall. And so me and my buddy were going at the mall, and we're going around handing out these at stores, and hey, you want a comedy show?
Right.
And we get to the food court, and there's Ron White and eating, food court food in the food court. And prior to this, bringing back the tour bus thing, we had seen this amazing fucking tour bus in the parking lot of the mall when we came in, like with all this beautiful insignia. I'm like, wow, look at that, we're just getting this door deal, and I'm already at tour bus. I'm like, we're gonna get one of those.
Right, exactly.
We're gonna get one of them. Telling my buddy, and so we see Ron, and I know Ron for many years before I'd worked with him, so I knew Ron enough to go up and go, Ron, what's up? So I go up, and he had just started to take off with Blue Collar, so that's why he had the bus. But so he goes, come by my show after you guys get done with your show at the Funny Bone. So we go by. Are we out of time?
No, I'm just making sure it's still good. We're going. Yeah.
No, my phone went out. That's why we're both looking over at that. My
But it's
phone
back.
went out, but it's
Okay.
back. We're good.
So
We got to
he-
make sure our camera's on us, Mark.
I was like, oh, both of you guys, their eyes were going. I'm like, uh-oh.
Something happened over here.
So Ron says, come by afterwards and hang out on the tour bus, which, again, we'd been dreaming this is going to be like us one day.
Right.
And so we go on the bus, and at that time, I don't think Ron drinks anymore, but he was getting Johnny Walker Blue in his rider
Nice.
every show, and he was performing all the time. So in the back of his bus, he had stacks of Johnny Walker Blue, which is, I think, like a $200-$300 bottle of whiskey. And so he breaks that out and the weed out. And, again, I'd known him, so he was a friend. And he, we're having fun. And I'm trying to keep up with Ron.
First mistake.
And I wanna live the Ron life for just a second. I'm on
Right.
this bus. He's got this fucking whiskey, and we're smoking and it's just going round and round. And I mean, it just it killed me. Just I'm just drooling, and my buddy wasn't drinking really that much. He was just kind of chilling and enjoying the spirit, like what I should have done. I just fucking hanging out, but I was trying to keep up with it. This is my bro. And at some point, all I remember is him going, God damn it, get him off my bus. Get this fucking drunk asshole off my butt. And I'm like, all right, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And so, and it's all good. I've seen him since, and it's a funny thing. But yeah, I was just I wanted to be like Ron for a second. And you still can't, even when he's sober.
Yeah.
I doubt you can keep up with him. He still smokes a shitload of weed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, summing up, I kind of want to put together a comedy night at my yoga studio that I opened. Would you come
heard.
down and do
Now,
set?
how does this work? Because I
Well,
saw
maybe we
when
could
you
all talk
posted
about it. Like,
a
what if
lot
we
of-
just put some people in the pose and then
Okay.
somebody gets up and does like a 3-minute thing? Then, like, maybe me as the host will come through and then talk everyone for a second, get them into a different pose. Next comment.
Okay.
5 minutes. They stay in that pose for 5. I don't know. We'd make like 3 to 5 minute poses. It had to be
okay.
everybody on yoga mats.
No, when I
Is
saw
this
you,
dumb? Is this a
No,
dumb idea?
No,
Yeah.
No, let me tell you, because I saw you posted this, and I thought, well, this is
And
This is the
comedy
dumbest fucking thing
yoga.
I've ever heard of.
dumbest. No, I thought, of course, you would come up with that because you're passionate about both.
Correct.
And I thought, what a cool mashup
Idea.
of like two things you like. But
Thank you, Mark.
It was also very funny to think of like what this could look like, because I've done comedy in a lot of as I've told you, the ridiculous, amazing, any scenario you can think of, I've done it.
And
I have never done comedy while people are doing yoga, though. So that would add a new, like, it
I
made
also
me go,
thought
"Whoa."
comedy do it with live music playing. That's not too much of a thing. Why can't that
Comedy
be a
with
thing?
live music playing? That's terrible.
It may have to be like songwritery.
Yeah,
you
Zach
know?
Galifianakis had that
Comedy with live
bit where he would
music
play
playing.
piano
Wait,
and
what?
kind of tell jokes. But
I'm sorry, yoga with live music playing. I'm sorry.
yoga with live
My
music.
bad.
Yeah, I was like,
Like these certain things people are like don't think of, but why can't yoga be done? Why
No, but
can't I
you-
get into chair
Okay, so back to
while
what
you
you said.
guys make me laugh?
Okay, so back to what you said. I like because you're giving it like context and reason. I like
Everybody's in down dog. You tell
Okay.
us a bit for 5 minutes. What's wrong with
right.
that?
Okay, so I like the idea that you have to hold for a certain amount.
Distract
So
us while we're having to
everybody,
hold
it will be still and
Yeah.
right.
They just won't be looking at you
So
necessarily.
then it kind of makes it fun for the comic. Okay, so what I would want if I was gonna, as a comic, or I think a comic would want to know is like, okay, how many times will you be in a hold, and how long? Like, are each one of those 5 minutes? So then I would probably try and go, okay, what do I have that I could put that bit? That would be, and then maybe I would even do this. I would like, okay, what are the positions? And I don't know if I could, but like maybe I
try
can
to do
tie,
something into it.
riff
yeah.
on the positions.
No, not necessarily rip, but like what would go with this?
Right.
Okay, so none of them are going to be looking at me. Maybe I'll do something that's a little risque
And if you made them
Because
laugh
they're
where
not
they
gonna
fell
be-
out of the pose, wouldn't that be great?
because they're not going to be looking at me. Like,
Yeah.
like they
You're
won't.
gonna be looking at their asses sticking straight up in the
like
air.
maybe I'll something a little wild. But if they're all like, like going to be like hyper focused, maybe I would, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe
Yeah.
I would kind of structure the bits. I don't know what for reason, but I'm just thinking experimentally as a comic that you're putting this idea in my head to even put these together. But yeah, I would have fun with it. I would
It's
try
like
and
Raelyn, I have to mow my yard a lot. What if you put comedy with lawn mowing, and if comics would talk to you while you're mowing your yard? Sometimes when I'm at the grocery, I get bored. What do you think about comedy and
At the
grocery
grocery
shopping?
store. That's a good
What
idea,
about this?
JB.
Yeah,
Have
comics
you
would
ever
love to do
played
that.
just played comedy while people were doing like an album or
No, I
okay?
haven't.
What about if you just
Tried that
because you
out?
could do that like almost immediately. You
All right,
wouldn't-
guys, let's get into Child's Pose.
But you
Yeah.
could pick the bits.
Yeah.
Like you could go through and go, okay, this is a good 4-minute bit for this pose.
That's true. I could do that.
Yeah, then what about the walkouts?
Like,
'Cause
you're
everybody's got
DJing.
the same sense of humor in yoga, I'm sure.
but you're kind of like comedy DJing the yoga.
Okay, so then I just have to use Nate Bargatze, Tom Papa, like
Yeah,
just
there you
some
go.
straight up
Probably
clean
so.
guys. Maybe.
Yeah.
I
This
mean,
conversation bores me.
You could probably find some.
Kathleen.
She'd be
yeah, there
good.
you go.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, tune in for comedy yoga, guys, because that
Comedy yoga.
may or
I
may
like
not
it.
be a thing.
yeah.
I don't think you complicate it more than that. I just like the idea. There's this pose and a bit.
Yeah, that's it. For
And
50
how many-
minutes.
50?
50 minutes. So what is that?
That's
5
what-
goes into 50 10
so-
times, 10 different bits.
Yeah, but you're just saying, you got an hour, right? You burn your hour at my yoga class. Or are you going to do different comics?
Yeah, that's.
I was thinking different comics.
But you'd have it, and it'd be okay to be like, and now we're going to switch it up and have this guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you would want to pull them slowly out of a pose. They've been in it for 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
So as they're slowly coming out of their pose.
And I assume you're going to pay these comics a very nice stipend for coming and do that?
Well, I think it would be sold as a workshop. So it'd
Maybe
be the
they do
same
3
as
poses
like
each.
what we would pay anybody else to come in and do a workshop. So they would get 75%. And the studio would get 25.
I like the lawn mowing idea better, but who am I?
Maybe they do 3 poses each, and then you
How
switch
about
it up.
comedians come and mow my grass for me?
Why? I mean, I have a really good lawnmower,
And they
but it
yell-
would be
Jesus
a lot
Christ.
of work to get it to your place.
All right, this is just
Going
clearly.
nowhere. Yeah. You
Yeah.
way to really drag down the ending of this podcast.
Y'all ruined
Raelyn.
my comedy yoga dream.
Dude, thanks for coming out here to do this with the
Thank you.
This has been a
Good to
blast.
see you.
Yeah.
Everybody check out Marc Ryan. We'll put all your stuff on the...
You got anything
Thanks.
particular you want to pimp, or we'll just put links down? and we'll send you-
I released a clean album. You can put up some of my clean tracks.
Okay.
I put a clean album out last year. And
Perfect.
a whole nother story for a different podcast. You can't get them on Spotify, Pandora right now because there's a big lawsuit with comedians.
Well, you'll have to
Yay.
come back and do this with us again sometime.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you're in town. It'll be easy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Yay! Marc Ryan
is my favorite comedian. That was a fun one. Anyway, enjoy your groceries.
Don't be an asshole.
I know your mama's name.
Enjoy your cigarettes.